My name is Kim, and this is my story. I grew up in the country in a big old farmhouse, and it was my brother and my family that moved in. And it had many, many acres of property. There was a pond on the property.
The place was so big. My sister and I enjoyed a lot of hide and go seek because there were so many nooks and crannies in that place. Yeah, we were exploring the house, we were having fun. It was awesome.
Here. Want to do some push-ups? I bet I can do more than you. No.
It was quite fun. I was very competitive in sports. Chin-ups, sit-ups, whatever. If my brother did 50, I had to do 51. I had to one-up my brother all the time.
My sister and I offed it. We were being watched by a babysitter. We had a grand old time in the beginning, you know? It was a great place. So it seemed.
Race to the basement.
We loved our new house, but we noticed that there started to be a bad energy coming from the basement.
Kim and Michael avoid the basement, believing the rest of the house is safe.
After we moved in, I found something in the bedroom closet. It was a little black book.
Look what I found.
I just figured, hey, there was somebody forgot their book here. The first couple pages had like squiggly lines, and there was a name in there.
Curtis?
It was just a little boy's name, Curtis, many, many times over. And it looked like he was just learning how to print his name. And my brother and I, when we seen it, thought we had discovered a little treasure. Little did we know.
Brother and sister get on with daily life until Michael hears something coming from the basement.
It scared me. I ran to go and get my sister.
Kim! Give me... There's something in the basement.
I thought he was just being a little boy. It was just normal little boy antics.
Please!
Me being the bigger sister, you know, I got to protect my little brother. Went downstairs to investigate this sound, but being scared to go down there at the same time.
At that point, I was too scared. Just felt really, really cold.
All of a sudden, I heard growling. I couldn't believe I was actually hearing something like that. The growling was very loud. The growling seemed to be coming from different sections of the basement, and I kept trying to figure out where exactly this noise was coming from.
It was one of the strangest things I ever heard. It was like a deep guttural growl. It wasn't human, that's for sure.
As soon as I realized exactly where it was coming from, I couldn't move.
There. Michael, let's go. Run!
We ran back up the stairs, terrified. was just a very threatening feeling.
Kim and Michael run to the safety of their babysitter.
Lauren! There's something in the basement! Is that terrible? It's like a monster or something.
You guys are just imagining stuff.
I tried to tell the babysitter, but she didn't believe us at all. I mean, just thought kids making up stories, exaggerating, you know.
It's just an old house. Old houses make weird noises, right, guys?
It was very frustrating. Nobody would listen at all. It was just very frustrating.
You know what? It's okay. Don't worry about it.
I honestly think that whatever it was didn't want anybody near its space. That was its space. Leave it alone. Stay away.
Fearing the dark presence in the basement, Kim and Michael feel safer sleeping in the same room.
A couple weeks after we found the book, I remember laying in bed, sound asleep, and a light woke me up. I woke up, looked into the closet, because the light was on in the closet, and I thought, that's odd.
What's going on? Nothing, just go back to sleep.
We couldn't actually reach those lights. They had the little pull string. I couldn't reach it. And my sister, well, I don't think she'd do that. The door itself was closed by a skeleton key. The lock itself was very, very well put together. You could not, in any way, shape, or form, move that door.
And then I started seeing a little boy standing in the doorway. And it was absolutely horrifying. His face was split from his chin right to the back of his head. The little boy looked like he was dressed hippie-ish, like from the 70s. He had sandy blonde hair, very, very pale skin. I was too scared to call out too loudly in case it came out of the closet at me.
Come play with me.
The little boy always stayed in the doorway.
Our Father, who art in heaven.
I usually coped with saying the Lord's Prayer over and over. The prayer actually calmed me quite a bit.
Come play with me. In heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come.
I actually felt like I was going a little bit nuts because I'm the only one seeing this, I'm the only one hearing this. What's wrong with me?
She was white as a ghost, and she told me that she's seen a little boy with a gash on his head. I do remember my sister telling me about that.
That fear is about to be realized when Kim and Michael run an errand in the basement.
I need a jar of stewed tomatoes.
Can't you go instead? I'm scared.
The stove is on. I can't just leave it.
Come on, let's go.
By this time now, I was absolutely thinking, something does not want us here. The basement was horrible.
This time, it's more than sounds that stand out for Kim.
But the smell, almost like rotting meat.
I followed my sister down the stairs. She screamed and she came running up to me.
What happened? My arm.
When I reached for the jar, I felt a burning on my arm. I pulled it away thinking like an electrical shock. And then when I actually looked, there was a bite mark with bruises around, it almost looked like pointy teeth. Oh, it was excruciating pain. It didn't feel like somebody bit, it felt like a burn.
Leave us alone!
The dark force turns its attention to Michael.
Leave us alone!
I remember just really just losing consciousness almost, like it was burning on my chest.
Leave us alone! Come on, we gotta go. What happened? What does it look like? Oh my God!
My brother had gotten scratched and it said 666 on it.
It takes a group of demons or one powerful demon to put in 666 on someone's body. Usually it comes from the inside out and it creates a huge stinging burn sensation. This creates and instills a great fear, which feeds them even more.
I had 666 on my chest, and to this day freaks me out.
Something was down there.
You want to protect the ones you love, even though at that age there's really not much you can do except for perhaps just be there. She is my sister and I love her.
Fighting back against the demons seems to work for Michael.
It's very easy to get scared when there's a demon standing in front of you, but if you can understand that you have more power than they do, you can actually will them away. If you are trapped in the fear of a demon, then they know that they can manipulate the situation. That's where we don't want to give them that power.
Their nightmare soon comes to an end.
When we found out we were going to move, there was a sense of relief. The paranormal definitely marked my life.
Later that year, Kim learns new information about the ghost boy in the closet.
She went out, she got me the microfiche, and right there it said, little boy drowned, head wound.
It absolutely made sense after I found everything there was to read on that little boy, and his name was Curtis. He tried to make his dive and he landed flat on his head, splitting him open and killing him instantly. Curtis just wanted somebody to play with him. He was sad and lonely. And the evil energy downstairs was definitely something else, very looming large.
The experience leaves a lasting and profound mark on Kim and Michael.
It's definitely left a scar. I can't be in the dark. There always has to be some sort of light so I can see everything around me.
30 plus years later, I still don't like going into dark rooms. I live with this fear of going into basements all the time. I never found out what that entity was in the basement. Don't want to.
Now, I keep myself safe with prayer. A whole lot of prayer.
My name is Josh, and this is my story. The house that I grew up in, it was an old house. The house was built in the 1800s, and then they added in the shed out back. We had a great little neighborhood. There was always something to do, and there was always kids to play with. We played morning, noon, night. It was a great time as a kid. I was a pretty energetic child, always wanting to play, and always curious about everything, how things worked.
Hey, buddy. Want to push?
Yeah.
All right, Joshy. Here we go.
Family life for me and for us as a family was nice. Everything was happy. Everybody was healthy. It was good.
I was very happy-go-lucky as a child. Everything just kind of rolled off my back.
Everything was nice. And then something went wrong.
Hold on.
While Josh is perfectly happy playing on his own, he soon finds out he is not alone.
I was playing right in front of our shed. We had a nice little play area between the house and the shed. Just playing on my own. And all of a sudden, I kind of felt like I was being watched. And I sensed something was there. So the moment I turned around and looked over my shoulder, that's where, on the peak of the shed, there was a boy just standing there, staring straight at me. And he just had this blank look to him.
Josh is afraid to move.
His skin, he was like a pale white, but even worse, his eyes were just pitch black.
Mom! Come over here!
What's wrong?
There's a boy up there.
I don't see anyone.
He just vanished. Once I realized that this was not normal, I felt scared. We didn't really talk much about it afterwards because instinctively I knew that this was not just another person, this was something else.
Josh turns to his dad for help.
I would smudge the entire house. I would go outside. I'd start in the center of the land, and I would work my way to each of the directions, north, east, south, and west. I always felt as though I could protect my family.
Cleansings can anger spirits mainly because they know they're almost being pushed out the door. So quite often they'll fight back harder because they understand that they're trying to be cleared out.
His efforts seemed to only provoke the energy within the house. It wasn't really effective.
And things just went downhill.
Over the years, Josh continues to be haunted. He finds music helps him get through it.
The one thing that got me through my childhood and adolescent years was my guitar. I was very passionate about playing the guitar. It brought me a lot of joy. It brought me a lot of comfort.
They are weak.
Anytime feeling any type of darkness, I would pick up the guitar, turn it up louder, and just did whatever I could to distract myself from that house.
Lights out.
Okay.
But for Josh, the energy in the house is becoming increasingly dark and powerful.
The house never really had an aura or anything that was of light. It was always pretty dark. The energy in the whole top floor, I felt I always had to combat with more lighting. I coped by playing more music, and I started to lean more on my faith.
One night, the spirits return, this time with a message.
The property exuded evil energy, and I felt it was especially strong in the area of my bedroom. All of a sudden, it felt like I was woken up to just these hands pushing down on my body. And I couldn't move. I was absolutely paralyzed as my brain was trying to make sense of all this. That's when I made out the silhouette of a man at the edge of my bed.
I will destroy you!
He was staring straight at me, but he did it in such a way where he didn't want me to see his eyes. He was really tall, and he had the most evil grin I had ever seen.
I will destroy you! I will decimate you and your family!
And I remember he didn't speak from his mouth, but he spoke from almost like a telepathic type of language.
I will end you!
Now that I think about it, it was almost as if he was feeding off of my fear. But our fear as well, because I think it wasn't so much just me being the target. I think it was my family being the target as well.
Josh looks to his faith for protection.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.
The only thing that I knew instinctively to do was to pray.
Our Father, who art in heaven.
I started praying the Lord's Prayer, and as I was saying it, and it was as if though he just kept taunting and taunting.
Your prayers will do nothing!
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, so
Your
will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us.
Josh makes it through the night.
If evil had a face, I saw it. Full representation of evil. Scared the hell out of me.
Mom.
I finally told my mom what had happened, and she believed me.
Is everything okay?
Right after that incident, I decided that I was going to leave that bedroom and move into another part of the house.
Then one night when his father is away, Josh is woken by something.
My thought was somebody just broke in, and I need to be able to take care of this. That's when I went to the kitchen, I got the flashlight, I got a knife, and started walking up the stairs. I noticed the movement in the wall. when I saw the back of that creature. I thought it was an animal, and it was no animal. And I can still see it, just like it was yesterday. That's when I made out this hideous thing. I could see the muscles moving, I could see the spine, and it had almost like a leathery type of gray skin.
Josh finds out this creature once tormented his father as well.
It had a smooth skin, more of a grayish kind of color, and it was moving. And I estimate that it was about a 2-foot radius. It was like a guardian of something deeper, something more powerful, more evil.
When I saw it, I turned around and I jumped off the top of the stairs. I said, Mom, we need to get out of here right now.
Gripped by fear and operating on adrenaline, he rushes his mother out of the house.
We were absolutely terrified. My mom was praying. Whatever it was hell's reject, and it somehow ended up in my house.
It was something that wasn't afraid to show itself or be caught by Joshua.
Come on.
We had reached our breaking point, and it was time to move out of that house.
When you start to see bad luck happening, it's time to move on.
I happened to live in a house where it was like the evil express line ran straight through it.
I will not go back there. It's evil. I can say if there were several portals to hell, this was one of them. There isn't a day that goes by that I am not affected by what I saw.
I think we dealt with it for so long because my mother had a love for that house, and she did her best to make it home. These experiences have certainly changed my mind about things. They have certainly changed my mind about the other side. That's why I was able to develop such a strong connection with the Lord, because of the events in general. It helped me to understand that there are other realms and dimensions. No, it didn't destroy me. I wouldn't let it. No.
My name is Rebecca, and this is my story. The neighborhood I lived in was pretty typical suburban. There was a lot of kids around.
She grew up in a pretty nice neighborhood. Her grandparents lived down the hill from her. There was lots of woods around her house.
My parents actually bought the land from my grandparents. I had my own bedroom with the princess bed, stuffed animals everywhere. I had a strong connection with animals. I was what my mother called overly imaginative, really curious. I used to take things apart. Like, I would take apart a radio just to see what was in it.
What are you up to? What's a time machine?
I tried to stay as busy as I possibly could, but I had a normal childhood.
Hi, sweetie. I picked you up something very special.
My mother was big into antiques, so she was always bringing things home and putting them in my room.
Look at this.
My mother gave me a portrait of a young girl.
No, Mom, I don't want it. I don't want it.
It was a painting, one of those children with the big eyes. You know, she had the dark hair parted on the middle, pink background, and a white dress.
She looks like she's just your age.
She said, I bought you this pretty picture, and I looked at it, and I'm like, I don't want it. And she goes, why? It's beautiful.
The painting shifts the energy in Rebecca's room.
I just didn't want to be by myself. The first night I was in the room with it, I could feel it was aimed at me. So every time I opened my eyes, I could see her. It felt like a real person looking at me. It didn't feel like a portrait. It just made me uneasy. There's no other word for it. I just didn't want to be around it. I didn't want to look at it. I would go over, take it down, turn it backwards, and put it in my closet. I wake up in the morning and be hanging back up.
Mom! Becca, honey, what is it? Did you put that there? Yes, you saw me do that yesterday. No.
I said, Mom, are you hanging that picture back up in the middle of the night? She goes, why would I be doing that? I begged her. I'm like, let's just put it in the trash. I don't want it.
Here. We're not getting rid of this. I just got it.
And she's like, you're being silly. You have an overactive imagination. You've always had one, and we're keeping it.
Rebecca tries to forget about the painting, but a few nights later, it gets worse.
One night, for some reason, something told me I needed to look outside. So I went and I opened the curtains. I look out the window, and the girl from the picture is standing in my backyard. She had this odd, menacing smile on her face. She knew I saw her. In the picture, she wasn't smiling, but when I saw her, she had this smile, like she had bad intent towards me. And I'm like, no, that's crazy. I'm asleep. I went and tried to lay back down. I can still feel something's not right. It was probably another 10 minutes or so. Went back, lifted the window. Her face was right against the window. Covered my head up and stayed in bed the rest of the night. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my head. And I'm like, please just go away. Please just go away. Please just go away. Whatever you want, I don't have it.
Terrified and alone, Rebecca looks for comfort in her stuffed dog.
He was the thing that was the most comforting me as a kid.
Rebecca waits in fear for the morning to come.
From a child's point of view, that would be frightening. To see this apparition, you know, you look away, you look back, and it's closer, and until it's right at the window.
The next morning, Rebecca tries to tell her parents about the girl at the window.
My mother and my father were against the whole paranormal thing. They were very Catholic.
I'm sure it was just a bad dream. I saw her.
They were under the impression that when you die, you go to heaven, and that's it. There aren't spirits.
Rebecca's parents agree to remove the painting from her room.
It went out of its way to make sure that I was terrified. And I think we got what it wanted.
When Rebecca's mom bought this painting of this little girl and gave it as a gift to her, what she didn't realize is that that spirit entity was attached to that portrait during the time that she was painted. Now what happens is this spirit all of a sudden finds itself in a different home. This is going to create, for some entities, fear. So out of fear, they will show anger and they will manifest themselves to make everyone else afraid.
A week passes, and Rebecca and her family try to get back to normal life.
We up?
Still beat you too.
They were supportive, they were loving. They're like, I'm sorry you're having such bad dreams. You know, hopefully when you get older, the bad dreams will go away.
I'm gonna go to bed. Night, Mom, night, Dad.
Good night, Rebecca.
But the peace is short-lived.
I was sound asleep in my room, covered up, and I could feel someone in my room. All of a sudden, the covers get pulled back. There's this man standing there in a long white coat. He had on steampunk kind of goggles on his head and long black leather gloves. He just had a menacing look upon his face. Didn't look right. His features were distorted.
It seems the painting brings in more than one spirit.
The doctor leaned down and looked in my face. He goes, I haven't had anybody to experiment on.
I've got no one left to experiment on.
At this point, he'd reached with these big black leather gloves and picked me up. And I could feel my body lifting. I could feel the gloves under my neck. I didn't really have any control over what was happening to me. I was absolutely terrified. I remember him opening the door to our basement. You know, and I'm watching all this stuff go by, but I can't do anything about it. It's like I'm paralyzed, I can't move. He laid me on the couch down there, and he said,
I got to go get a few things.
And I'd watched him go in the other room, and something inside me went, if you don't get up and run, something really bad's gonna happen to you. You need to run. I was able to somehow get myself up off the couch and ran up the stairs and went and told my parents.
Rebecca brings her parents back down to the basement.
I was like right here, I swear.
I was afraid he was going to come back and finish what he started, that he was going to come get me. And my dad got up and walked around. He goes, there's no one in the house.
No, he's gone.
I know it was really painful for her not to be believed. She was just a child. It must have been terrifying.
Seeing the fear in their daughter's eyes, Rebecca's parents agreed to get rid of the very thing that started the haunting.
After throwing the picture away, I didn't see her again after that. I'm assuming that the spirit went with the picture.
Okay, so all you gotta do is put this little thing on there and ready, count with me, guys. 3.
I didn't want to deal with it anymore. I just wanted to be a normal kid. I didn't know what the paranormal was. I just thought I was the unluckiest kid in the world.
2, 1.
Rebecca makes peace with her mom and her antiques.
Fantastic.
I forgave her and we talked about it. We came to an understanding. She was sorry that she let me go through that by myself.
Today, Rebecca has an ally and a believer in her husband, Dan.
I could see the relief in her face when I told her that I believed her.